standing up here talking to you guys today is because I implement stuff, and I go out there and I try and figure out ways to make it work. So here's what we're going to do today. Here's my prediction on today's session. You're going to learn everything you thought you came here to learn today, but I'm not going to cover anything that you thought I was going to cover today. And more of you will implement e-Edge than ever before. How's that sound for a good class today?
I love it.
Awesome.
All right? And here's why I say that. Because whenever I'm teaching an e-Edge class, the first thing people think we're going to do is go through this PowerPoint right here where it shows you how to add a name, address, phone number, how to start an action plan, how to do all this stuff, right? It's not going to be a hands-on course. What I hope to do, see, we only got, what, 45 minutes? Can you guys master e-Edge in 45 minutes?
No.
Is there anything I can tell you up here today that if you're not using it right now, that you're just going to go, oh my gosh, I'll use it now because he showed me how to do it? No. So let's just talk real world, agent to agent. What is this thing? How do I use it? How does it work in my business? And I'm here basically giving you e-Edge Unplugged. So now's when you get to say, well, here's, how do you do this? Because that's why I'm not using it yet. You see what I'm saying? So let me get a read on you guys. How many of you are using, raise your hand if you are adding 5 people a day, every single day to your e-Edge account and you're starting them on action plans. All right. I got a couple of them. That's awesome. How many of you have added somebody to e-Edge in the last 6 months, but you don't get in it every day? It took a little while to even figure out how to do it, right? How many of you have turned on e-Edge? All right. All right. So we're one step closer. How many of you are not using e-Edge at all yet? It's okay. There's nothing bad about that. Okay, so here's the thing. We got to back up all the way up to the beginning, and now I'm going to be your coach for a minute. I get to be Coach Korn a couple times throughout this rather than a trainer. And what I have found is that in all the people that I coach and all the agents that I coach, even the course that I just wrote, which I'll tell you a little bit more later on this whole database and getting your 8x8 and 33 touch going, you got to back it all the way up to adding 5 a day, which means that until you are adding 5 a day, you don't need to know anything about 8x8. You don't need to know what pieces are in the 8x8. You don't need to know what the content is. You don't need to know how an action plan works. Honestly, truly, I will tell you this is how I got started in this and how I got to that point. I was feeding my database 5 a day, and I actually prevented myself from learning any more about it until I was doing that first. And I inputted 5 people a day into my database for probably a month or two, that they went nowhere, went on nothing. I was just getting into the habit of feeding the database every day. Does that make sense to you guys? And yes.
So you're taking 5 people from your current database and adding them to your database, or 5 new people?
Yes and yes. It started with my old database, just reconnecting with people, which we're going to talk about some different plans. That's why I said today is going to be more about your database than it is e-Edge. But I want to really trickle e-Edge in. I want you guys to throw all the questions at me from an e-Edge perspective so that you will use it. And what's really funny, we had an ALC meeting this morning, and I'm on the tech committee. That's weird. Brad Korn on the tech committee. So anyway, one of the agents, it was Cinda Rader, she said, okay, I don't want to sound stupid or anything, but, do you think we should all be using e-Edge? And she just laid it out there like that. And I said, you know what? Here's my honest answer. I think you should be using whatever database you will feed every day. I think you should be using whatever database you will use. Now, the real answer is every 100% of us should be using e-Edge. At least turned it on. We've closed a deal from e-Edge, and I don't get in it every day, guys. I'm not going to pretend to be somebody up here that's some e-Edge guru, because if you ask me some specific questions, I can probably answer it, but I may not have done it. I know technology enough, and I know what e-Edge, I've been involved from it from day one, so I know what's in there and how it's built. I also know how to trick the system and make it do what you guys think it won't do, okay? That's why I'm saying today is very interactive. It's going to be me unplugged on e-Edge. You throw me the zingers. Try and stump me on this e-Edge. I don't mind getting stumped, but I probably have already thought of a solution on how that would work because I've got a lot of people I'm coaching that are using e-Edge. That's their only database. See, and I'll just tell you, it doesn't really matter. I don't want anybody to make any decision on what database to use based on what Brad Korn is using. I have Top Producer, but that's not the magic pill that makes me get, 100 transactions a year. It's the feeding it every day and the system that I have it on. Now, I've been running that plan for 6 years. Okay, so I've got lots of people on multiple different action plans, and I want to put this whole action plan thing into perspective for you. If you had 5 people today, 5 people tomorrow, 5 people the next day, and I'm putting them on my 8x8 plan, the first step of the 8x8 plan, if you've got the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book down, now this you do want to write down, pages 133 through 148 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. 133 through 148. Your first step, I will tell you, out of every book on my bookshelf, until you put a sticky note on page 133 and another sticky note on page 148, and you start at that first sticky note and you read through, and as soon as you get to page 148, go right back to 133 and read it again until you've read through that like 12 times. And then if you have the audio version, you pop that CD out and you pop that one CD with that track in your car and listen to that 12 times. It will start to make sense to you after about the 6th time. You'll actually see it showing up in your life after 12. That's been my experience, okay? And that's why I wrote this course on how to build this stuff, and I just chunked it all the way back down to my process of going through that. So how many of you have I lost so far? You guys with me? Is this good stuff so far? I haven't even given you anything. I love this one. This is good. All right. So it really comes back to adding 5 a day to your database first. And as a coach, if I'm really going to get you guys to do something, it's start small. Just build the habit of 5 a day first. Now, a lot of people in this room, I know where you're sitting right now. You're like, 5 people a day? Where am I going to meet 5 people a day? You could actually raise your hand and 90% of the room would go up. If you're not doing 5 a day, you don't know where the heck you're going to meet 5 a day. So let me interpret that for you, at least what my brain interpreted that helped me really truly get to 5 a day. And what I'm getting at is I did this for 6 years, so I got these plans running where 5 people got an introduction letter today, 5 more people got that introduction letter the next day, 5 more people got the introduction the next day. So I've got to take you out of the mass blast world. It's not going to work if you do 5 a day and you want to touch 5 people personally every single day. Does that make sense? There is no mass blast, and if you think there is, if you've got a system in your mind that says, I can make this work, throw it out. Because I've already black-hatted it, I already know what roadblocks you're going to hit, and I also know how you can make it work the best way it will work. But there's a new saying that I have as a coach this year, and it's, who's in bold? If it's easy, who's heard me in that class? You remember what I said? If it's easy, it's not going to get the results you wanted it to do. There isn't anything in this business, and all you guys who have been in business forever, the easiest things, the coolest things, the mass postcards where we just write a check, and those postcards go out every month, and I don't have to touch them. The websites that you set up that are sucking people to them, and all these website leads are coming through. You're getting 1,000 hits a month. Are you getting 1,000 closings? No. Are you getting 100 closings? Are you getting 10 closings? You're getting 1 closing, 2 closings, 3 closings. The internet generates about a 3% return at the high end. It's a massive, massive net. Who agree? You guys agree with me on that? So if it's easy, you're not going to get the results you would hope because you wanted it to be 100 deals. You wanted it to be 1,000. I want to say if it's easy, it won't work. But see, I can't say that because somebody in the room is going to go, well, I do it and it works. Yes, you will get business from easy business, but it's a 1% to 2% return. Does that make sense? So you got to go really, really big. It's just to put it in terms of mass mailing. You know what the internet is? It's a massive mass mailing thing that doesn't cost you any postage. So when you throw 1,000 postcards out to a neighborhood every single month for a whole year, how many closings do you get in that neighborhood in 1 year? How many actual signs in yards do you get after a year? Who's done mass mailing? How many signs would you get out of a 1,000 home neighborhood after 1 year of mailing every single month? How many listings do you think you'd get?
2,
3. 1 or 2? Yep. Now if you did it for 5 years, I bet you'd get 3 or 4. And see, here's the deal. You hear people talk about, I want 10%, 20%, 25%, 30% market share in a neighborhood. Why? You can have 100% market share in a neighborhood if you want it. Can you imagine a neighborhood where there's only one agent sign that goes on? If it's a 1,000-home neighborhood, year after year, no other neighborhood can get it. No other agent, period, could get in there. Can you guys even imagine that being possible? Let me tell you how it'd be possible. I'm just going to kind of open your mind. I want to open your mind up, okay? Because anything that's mass and easy is not going to get what? The results you wanted. Now, if it's real hard to do and it takes a lot of time and it's like, you're going to get a way bigger return on it. Because here's what somebody could do, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong. If you took that 1,000-home neighborhood and you went and started on street number 1, door number 1, and you knocked on the door, and you knock on the doors until 5 people answer their door today. When the 5th person answers the door and you get to talk to them, you're done for the day. Tomorrow you come back to the neighborhood, you start on the home that didn't answer the door, and you work until 5 people answer the door. Do it again, every day, 5 people a day. How long would that take you to knock on doors until 5 people answered the door? How long do you think it would take you?
On Saturday morning, it would be faster.
An hour. Yeah. Everybody agree? Maybe an hour? Yeah. And again, it depends on time of day. But again, in an hour, if they're not home, you're just knocking really fast. So 5 people shouldn't take more than an hour a day. So 1 hour a day, doing the hard knocking on the door, going out in the snow. It's not fun. It takes an hour away from whatever else you would have been doing, right? Oprah's not on anymore, so that's a good thing for the real estate world, honestly. No. So if I did that every single day, how long do you think it would take me to meet all 1,000 homeowners in that neighborhood?
Years.
Good guess? About 10 months. Yeah. I mean, it's about a year because not well, if you do it till you got 5 people a day every single day, it probably would take a year. You got weekends off. So, yeah, it will take, if you do 5 people a day, that's 25 a week. That's 100 a month times 10 months. In 10 months, if you invested this 10 months into 1 hour knocking on the door, now here's the conversation because you want to own this, you want 100% market share, right? So I'm investing in 100% market share 5 years from now. And I knock on the door and all I say is, hey, I'm Brad Korn with Keller Williams. I'm not here to list your house or anything. I really love this neighborhood. I've always had a passion for this neighborhood, and I would just like to know what you like about living in this neighborhood. What makes this neighborhood so special, and why do people come here? Now, if you've got 1,000 people to tell you why they live there, do you have marketing material for whatever your follow-up system is on that neighborhood? Do you know every party they're going to do? You guys see where I'm going with this? So this would take about a 10-month investment. Do you think that it's possible to own 100% market share if you met everybody, wrote them a handwritten note, and they get something from you every 10 or 12 days from that day forward? In 5 years, do you think you could own almost 100% market share of that neighborhood?
Yeah.
But see, that takes time. I mean, it's much easier to just write a check for $500 and have somebody mail postcards and we'll get our 1 or 2 listings. Okay? See where I'm going with this? The reason why I spent the time explaining that is because that's how you need to think when you're doing E-Edge or whatever database you will use. But if you don't have a database right now that you're feeding 5 people in a day, start here. This thing is going to make business for you. You got to get it turned on. You got to get your profile to 100%. How many of you are really frustrated with that little deal? God, 97! I did something else. I'm still at 97, right? You got to get your Facebook. We just found this out from our bold instructor, John Prescott. You got to get Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. All LinkedIn for you to get to 100%. So if you haven't done those 3 and you're not at 100%, that's why. But once you get this thing to 100%, it will start turning out leads, yeah.
Okay, I'm still stuck on the Cinerator thing. So I want to go back for a second. And okay, let's say that you have, like we have top producers. So for us, my goal, because I'm in bold, is to add 200 people to our database. So
she sets low goals.
Oh,
but that's
what's yours?
all right.
225. Anyways.
No, that's a good goal, really. It is.
So,
I'm just picking on you.
Okay, so I'm adding people.
Yep.
So if I am adding 3 to 5 people a day, I'm adding them to top producer.
Yep.
So in your opinion, should we be adding them to both? Because what am I going to do? Double dip, and I'm going to have to do it anyways later. What do you do?
Yeah. My opinion is you add those people to whichever database you use every day. Because now let me distinguish a couple differences, and I'll tell you what I'm doing, and then you can figure out how that fits into what you're doing. I want you to remember, if you do not have a database that you're using right now, don't go buy Top Producer. Start using eEd and see if it will do everything you want it to do, okay? I already have 6 years worth of all these plans running. Now, there's no way I could just export and import and not have my business implode or something go wrong. Somebody's not going to be on the right plan.
Right.
How many of you did the export import and found out, oh, not everything comes over, or you had an issue, or you did all this stuff? Guys, this is my 6th database in my career in real estate. And the last 2 databases, the most successful transfers that I had, took a year to 2 years. In fact, Top Producer, I'm on year 3, and I don't even think we're halfway through transitioning from our previous database of Online Agent or Agent 2000. Okay, I was living in that. So what I did, I had too many plans running. I could not just export and import into Top Producer. So I adopted Top Producer as my haven't met database because I wasn't in Top Producer every day. So I would let anybody I haven't met yet go in there, and I do the automatic drips, because here's one thing I want to tell you about mass. It still gets you a 1 to 2% return. So for heaven's sake, put everybody on the mass drip and try. Your goal is to get them off of that onto the one that gets you a 12 to 2 return.